How did I land my first clients? Coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Thanks for coming back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks for the support on the channel lately. I've gotten some very nice comments. Thank you very much for that. Today I thought I want to share with you the story about my first clients, how I got them, who they were, what I did in the, with my first jobs, how I felt about it as well. I thought I'd talk about my first direct client and my first agency client. So this all started back in 2016. I was doing my master's at the time in the Netherlands. Money was running out a bit. I had saved, to go abroad and to study abroad, and but it's expensive if you don't work next to it. So I was kind of faced with the decision whether I should get a student job. But then I also thought, I already have a bachelor in translation. I might as well give this a shot. So I did some research, what I could do. I joined a couple of Facebook groups. I watched content on YouTube as well, such as this one. Unfortunately, there was not a lot back then, but there were a few videos that helped me get started. And then I signed up to Probst.com. That was basically my first step. I signed up with many other platforms later on, but first it was make a LinkedIn account, buy a domain, make an email address, and go on Probst.com. So of course I was very motivated back then. I thought, I'm gonna just make this happen, even if it's not full-time, but next to my studies, maybe I find something. And there were a lot of jobs on Pros. I remember back then it was great. Even with the free membership, you could find a lot of very good jobs. I heard nowadays that it's not so good anymore, especially for free members. It's really tough now. I don't really use it myself anymore, at least not for jobs. I do the invoicing through Pros, but I don't really look through the job directories anymore. I still have an email reminder set up, but they go to a special folder, so I don't even look at them. If at some point I really have nothing else to do, I might look there, but it's been a while since I checked. So if you reach out to me through Pros, I don't think I will see it. Anyways, I had signed up, and I don't exactly remember how many days it was, but definitely for a couple of days I just applied to everything I've seen on Pros. And most of the things I, of course, didn't hear back. That's always the case, right? But you just have to keep going. And then through Pros, I actually found my first direct client. So my very first client was a direct client. It was a British shoe company. I mean, by now it's been so long, I can probably say it, right? It was called Clark's. I had seen them before. They're kind of, these ergonomic shoes, and they're still going. I still see them sometimes in the shopping mall. I actually want to check the website now. Let me check, because I've never worked with them again. Yeah, this is the website. I remember it quite well. I remember I was working on the women's stilettos and stuff. Oh, Originals TM, I remember that as well. Der Torher 90er Style an, los geht's. Okay, that is a very literal translation. Ikonisches Design trifft auf moderne Attitüde. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm a translator, but I see immediately this is from like iconic design meets modern attitude, now in trendy new colors and stuff. So it's a very literal translation. I don't like that at all, especially not for a landing page. Für Herren shoppen and shoppe für Damen, so it's even inconsistent on the buttons. Okay, not a good first zu jedem, it's all capitalized. There's definitely, here as well. Okay, there's definitely a lot to do in the German department here. You know what? Maybe I reach out to them and I say I used to work for you and I could improve your website quite a bit. Maybe, why not? It's funny that I see it now and that maybe they changed to MT or something. This is a bit disappointing to see, but maybe there's something I can help them with. So as you can see, they could probably need some more professional translation services. Maybe they tried to save money and just went for post editing or for full MT, but it's definitely not up to the standards. I hope I delivered better quality back then, but I also haven't seen them around on Pros later on again. So maybe I was one of the last translators for them, and then they switched. In my opinion, it's a very bad thing to do for your website to a keen eye, and I don't even know if if other people see this as well. But when I read this German text, for me that's a no-go, right? That's just not a nice marketing material. It's not a nice website. Anyways, I digress. I worked on women's shoes for them, and it was a big project for me. I remember they paid me, I think it was around 400 or 500 euros for one big project. It was my very first one. I didn't even realize what that means, that this is a direct client, right? That's huge as a first client, and a big project as well. For some reason, I remembered I had to do a test for them. They didn't mind that I had no experience, basically. What I did, of course, I said I worked for 2 years in a translation agency, which is true. I didn't do translations there, not much at least. But I guess they were not bothered by that. They just saw, oh, he's from the translation industry, he has a degree, he's focusing, well, he's Swiss, and this website was for Switzerland. And I did say that I do retail and fashion translations on Pro. I remember that because during my studies I did a lot of free translations. Just I went on clothing websites and I just translated it and sent it to. Sometimes I sent it to the brand, but usually it was just for practicing. So I did have some kind of background in fashion. So that was enough for them, and they gave me a shot. I did a translation test, I passed, and then I got the full project. I think I had 2 weeks to complete it. I made $500. I was not registered yet in the Netherlands. You only have to register once you actually have jobs there. So I don't even know how that went. Probably I registered only after that job. Anyways, it was great. Anyways, in the Netherlands, when you sign up, when you register as a freelancer in the first 3 years, you have a lot of tax benefits. You barely pay any taxes. And those $400 or $500, they definitely carried me through like 2 months of groceries or something. It was an amazing feeling, and it really pushed me. It really made me think I can do this. And I never looked back since then. Of course, finding direct clients was a much harder task afterwards. I was not aware that this was such a lucky dip, basically the first one to be just a random company that sells shoes in Switzerland and is also my source language. So I was very lucky, but sometimes you need this lucky break to get going. And then of course I used this retail experience very heavily in my other applications. That's also when I created all my public profiles. So I made a Facebook page. I remember that was still a thing back then. And I started publishing content about translation on Facebook. So like once a week I would write a post about an interesting topic. So already then I did some content marketing, I guess, because then I remember, that leads me to my first agency client. I remember that a friend of mine that I went to university with, she worked in an agency afterwards, and she saw on Facebook that I'm now a freelance translator, and she reached out to me. She said, "Hey, that's super cool. Proud of you for trying this." I remember, and then she said, "Let's have a call because I could get you probably into the agency." And funny enough, about a week later, the same thing happened again from a very good friend who also went into an agency. And basically at the same time, I talked to two friends. One was at that time in Paris. One was back in Switzerland. They both worked in agencies, and they both got me in. So that's so important. That's also why I say translation degrees is not only about studying the craft, right? It's also to build a network. A lot of the agencies, they require you to have a lot of experience, right? Some even require a master's degree, which I didn't have at that time. But through connections, I was able to get a test in, that maybe other newbies would not have gotten. And I could at least prove my worth. Like I can actually show that translation experience matters, of course. But if you are good enough, if you're motivated, you can also make it without, right? Again, there I can put it down to luck as well, right? But then that's already 2 or 3 times lucky at my start. And I don't know whether it's still luck or whether things just had to go that way, whether it was just aligned. I remember I was so determined to make that work. I had a call with my dad. I remember that very well. And I told him of my plans. And I don't know if I wanted his approval, but I just asked him, like, what's your opinion? Do you think I should go for it? Do you think I should do that? And he said, look, if you think that this is a career you can build upon. You can actually like provide for a family with this. If you think this is the way to go, then go for it, because it's very rare that someone finds something that they are very motivated in and passionate about. And that was really nice to hear, because I valued that opinion a lot, of course. So I decided to at least give it a shot for 3 years. And this conversation was after I had these first two or three jobs by the 2 agencies and the direct client. And I told him that I think if I give it a shot for 3 years, at least I will have, how do you call that? Like scratched the itch or something. Like at least I would know if I fail, at least I know I failed, But if I don't even try, it would bug me all my life, I think. And I'm so happy I did it. Like it's been now like 9 years now that I'm doing this. Still very busy, still a lot of bookings, which is amazing, and I'm so free. I can travel to my family, I can see my nieces all the time. All of this would not have been possible if I went down the employed route, right? I would have had, 4 or 5 weeks of holidays. Of course, I don't want to spend all my holidays traveling back to visit family, so I would have seen my family much less. I don't know, my life would be very different, and I'm very grateful for these opportunities. Put it down to luck, put it down to determination, probably a mix of everything. In the end, I will do this job as long as I'm needed. I really like what I'm doing. It's giving me a purpose. It's giving me flexibility as well. I'm thinking of reducing my workload to 80%, or not really the workload, but I'm thinking of taking a day off a week, but keeping the workload relatively similar, just put it to the other days, and the fact that I can even think of that, and even that I could potentially be able to do that, is giving me so much freedom. And I think the 4-day work week is the way to go for everyone. I hope we will get there somehow. There you go. That's the story of my first jobs. After that, I invested a lot in content marketing, in LinkedIn, in networking, in going to conferences, in gaining experience, working for some crappy rates, unfortunately, in the beginning, but never too bad. Like I never went to the 2-3 cents per word, but luckily in German we can afford not to do that. And then steadily I was able to create an expert business around myself, right? And I can actually be recommended to people. And nowadays I'm in the lucky position that I don't have to look for jobs anymore. I'm basically always fully booked, and if a new client comes in, it's coming in through word of mouth, through the contents I put out, to other people's recommendation, or they just find me on LinkedIn or on Probst or just my website or YouTube, whatever. But it probably took me around 1.5-2 years to make this business really profitable, and then maybe all in all, maybe 3 years to make it sustainable long term. So definitely don't expect to make enough money in the first 1-2 months, right? So if you can start while doing something else, start part-time, start while still having a job to support yourself, to pay the bills, I think that's the best option in my opinion. Thanks for watching. Hope this was interesting, and I see you next Monday with the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.